Chapter 1130, Six Enemies. Li Chonggong listened to Jiang Han's words, and a cold arc appeared on the corner of his mouth. The Jiangnan district can only send him. Otherwise, there is no one to show. Jiang Han whispered, "Brother, do you really want to fight him?" Li Chonggong held down his long knife and said coldly, "He killed Brother Lin, and almost killed you. I can never let this despicable guy go. As long as he appears here today, I must punish him severely." The Brother Lin mentioned by Li Chonggong is the White Tiger, one of the four spirits of the East China Sea. His real name is Lin Tianqi. In the military, those who can hold high positions must have a prominent family. If it weren't for the arrival of the end of the world, which allowed ordinary people to gain powerful strength through mutation, I'm afraid that ordinary people like Jiang Yi and Xuanwu would have no chance to stand out. If you have a good talent and you have a deep background, then your chance of becoming a superior person will be tens of millions times that of ordinary people. Ordinary geniuses are easily buried, but geniuses with backgrounds are easy to be discovered. Li Chonggong, Jiang Han, and Lin Tianqi have known each other since childhood because of their fathers, and they have a close relationship. When they grew up, the three of them joined the army according to their parents' arrangements. Li Chonggong went to the northwest, while Jiang Han and Lin Tianqi went to the East China Sea region to join the Navy. Although these three are not biological brothers-sisters, they are better than biological brothers-sisters because of the feelings they have cultivated in a large courtyard since childhood. In the Battle of Qingdao, the two regions and the Columbia Navy suffered heavy losses, and more than half of the aliens died in the war. Bai Hu also died in that tragic war. After Li Chonggong got the news, he blamed all the crimes on Jiang Yi. If it weren't for the stability of Huaxu country, he might have rushed to Tianhai City to settle accounts with Jiang Yi. Now he finally has this opportunity to meet Jiang Yi, and it's in Shang Jing, an area far away from Tianhai City. Of course, he will not miss the opportunity to avenge his brothers and sisters. Jiang Han frowned slightly and said to Li Chonggong, "Brother, you and that guy Han Dun are both Ypsilon and are the pillars of Huaxi State today. Fighting between you is not a good thing for the country." Li Chonggong sneered, "Don't worry, I know what's going on. I won't kill him, but I will also make him suffer and learn a lesson." He clenched the handle of the knife in his hand, his eyes as sharp as lightning. "As a soldier, I want him to know that people who stab their own friendly forces in the back will pay a huge price. This time is just a warning. If there is a next time, I will definitely kill him with my own hands." Jiang Han thought about it and suddenly whispered, "But he is not a soldier." Li Chonggong was slightly startled and then said coldly, "The situation is difficult. Everyone is a soldier. How can he not be?" Jiang Han didn't expect there to be such a statement, but since it was said by Li Chonggong, it must be correct. Shang Daowen vaguely heard the conversation between the two in the distance. The two people didn't carry him on their backs. Although Shang Daowen didn't like to eavesdrop, he still heard a little bit along the wind. "Ahem, Go Chun, Shang Jing invited you to come here to discuss important matters. So, I hope you can give Shang Jing some face during this period and don't attack anyone. Otherwise, as the host, we can't just sit back and watch." Shang Daowen said with a smile, polite but not without dignity. Li Chonggong narrowed his eyes and looked at him. "If I challenge him and he accepts the challenge, then is that okay?" Shang Daowen nodded with a smile. "If both of you agree, of course we have no objection." "Okay." Li Chonggong nodded. "As long as Jiang Yi comes, he will naturally find a way to make Jiang Yi fight him. I'll be here today, waiting for him to come. As soon as..." Li Chonggong finished speaking, his men took out tables, chairs, and umbrellas from the plane and set them up here at the airport. Li Chonggong called Zhu Ke to sit down, and a female officer under his command actually took out a heating stove on the spot and started to heat a pot of fingio from the northwest. "Mr. Shang, come and sit for a while. There will be a good show to watch later," Li Chonggong said to Shang Daowen. Shang Daowen smiled slightly. "I don't need it. But Mr. Go Chun, please call me Xitagarba." Li Chonggong sneered with some disdain. "You guys are really used to being rigid. You are already Ypsilon, but you still talk about so many bullshit rules. The two people are not strangers." They have been in the Beijing circle and have dealt with each other a lot. Shang Dawen smiled deeply and said, "There is no order without rules. I think it is better to understand the rules, in order to avoid any accidents." When he finished speaking, his eyes wandered to the distance. In the north of Shang Jing, the hall in the central area seemed to be watching the whole Shang Jing. Li Changgong and his team did not wait too long. Jiang Yi and his group arrived in Shang Jing soon. The latest jet aircraft, the F-37, is indeed not a joke. It has no wings, but the flying speed is amazing. It only takes half an hour to travel a distance of more than 1,000 kilometers. Arriving in the North Country, Jiang Yi raised his head from Zhou Qir's knees and looked out the window. Through the window, you can see this huge and ancient imperial city. The plane landed at the airport soon. Jiang Yi did not consider other issues, but just shouted to everyone to go down with him. Everyone was full of expectations. After all, after the end of the world, it is not easy to travel to the distant northern country. But Zhou Qir still carefully reminded everyone not to just think about playing. After all, this time she was mainly accompanying Jiang Yi to attend the meeting. No one knows what Shengjing district looks like, so don't cause trouble. Deng Shintong came over. "Captain Chaos, let's go." Jiang Yi nodded lazily. "Let's go." The door of the cabin opened, and they walked out of the cabin door, along the gangway. Jiang Yi suddenly felt countless eyes gathered on him. Some of them were particularly sharp, which immediately attracted Jiang Yi's attention. An elegant officer led a group of Longming guards and waited for them with a smile in front of the plane. But not far away, there were two more eyes that caught Jiang Yi's attention. In such a cold season, if someone would set up tables and chairs near the huge airport and drink leisurely, it would naturally be very eye-catching. Jiang Yi saw Jiang Han and also saw the murderous man next to her. And Li Changgong also glanced back at Jiang Yi. Domineering. This was Jiang Yi's most intuitive feeling. The man was like a long sword unsheathed, giving people a feeling of being sharp and not easy to approach. His eyes made Jiang Yi very uncomfortable. It was not an ordinary scrutinizing look, but a clear hostility and even a hint of contempt.
"Huh?
Who is he?" Jiang Yi asked Deng Shintong beside him. Deng Shintong was also stunned when he saw Li Changgong, and then said, "Why is he here?" In Jiang Yi's puzzled eyes, Deng Shintong briefly introduced Jiang Yi. He is the Northwest King Li Changgong, the strongest person in the Northwest region at the Ypsilon realm. He is also the Supreme Commander of the Northwest region. I originally thought that as the Supreme Commander, he would decline this meeting. But I didn't expect that he would come here in person. It seems that this meeting is indeed not simple. Chapter 1137. Verbal Battle. Jiang Yi couldn't help but raise his eyebrows after hearing about Li Changgong's identity. The top master, the Supreme Commander. When these two identities are concentrated in one person, it means that the Northwest region must have experienced a change of power. This is not surprising. If he or Xuanwu had this idea, they would also have the opportunity to become the commander of the region. But they are not willing to do so. Managing a region is not an easy task, and you don't know how many troubles you have to face every day. Since Li Changgong was able to take the position, it not only shows that he is strong, but also shows that he has sufficient confidence in his ability to command. He can take into account both external crusades and internal affairs. Northwest Li family. These keywords made Jiang Yi's mind emerge with an ancient king. But he quickly drove this idea out of his mind. When he saw Jiang Han and Li Changgong's unfriendly eyes, he understood what was going on. It seems that he wants to stand up for the people in the East China Sea region, to avenge the trap I set on Qingdao. Jiang Yi quickly figured it out. He said nothing and slowly walked down the gangway. Jiangnan region, chaos. Shang Jing, Xidagarba. Shang Dawen smiled and said, "The name of chaos is well known, and I have always wanted to see him in person. Today, I see that his reputation is well deserved. Today, 3 Ypsilons have appeared, which has reached the number that Qin Shigong had hoped for. If today's meeting can reach an agreement perfectly, it will be a great thing for the entire Xinjiang region and the entire Huaxi state. Your Excellency has been traveling a long way." We have prepared guest rooms. You can take a rest first. Tonight, our commander will personally host a banquet for you." Jiang Yi nodded, but his eyes passed over him and fell on Li Changgong. Because at this time, Li Changgong had already stood up, and his military boots stepped on the hard road and walked towards the side. "Are you Chaos from the Jiangnan region, the guy who stabbed his allies in the back and harmed many people?" As Li Changgong walked over, his cold tone was filled with a strong smell of gunpowder. Shang Dawen introduced Jiang Yi. "This is Go Chun from the Northwest region, Mr. Chaos. Although I don't know what conflicts you have, if you find it troublesome today, I will come forward to help you mediate." Li Changgong strode over, holding down the saber with his left hand, his sharp eyes bursting with a strong desire to fight. He suddenly said loudly, "Harming allies and killing many soldiers is disloyalty. Hiding intelligence, resulting in the tragic deaths of many people in the Jiangnan region and the discord between the Jiangnan region and the East China Sea region, is injustice. But relying on the tyranny of force to get away with it, it is simply a shame for the Huaxiu kingdom." Li Changgong loudly listed Jiang Yi's crimes and then shouted, "In order to correct the customs of my Huaxiu kingdom and avenge my dead comrades, I want a duel with you today. Chaos, do you dare to accept it?" Li Changgong's words made everyone present change their faces. There were quite a few people at the airport. In order to express the importance of Shang Jing district to distinguished guests from other regions, Shang Dawen brought many important officials from Shang Jing. There were hundreds of Longming guards who were responsible for supporting the scene. Not to mention that representatives from the Northwest District, East China Sea District, and Jiangnan District were also present. Li Changgong's words were merciless, and he beat Jiang Yi into a disloyal and unrighteous person. At this time, if Jiang Yi retreated half a step, he would soon become the laughingstock of the entire Huaxiu kingdom. Shang Dawen couldn't help but look at Li Changgong, thinking, "No wonder you are so sure that Chaos will definitely duel with you. It turns out that you are so decisive." He sighed in his heart and kept an eye on Jiang Yi's reaction to avoid a violent conflict between the two. If there were casualties due to a real fight, it would be a big trouble. On Jiang Yi's side, he slowly narrowed his eyes, and a touch of coldness passed through his eyes. Of course, he understood that the person in front of him wanted to force him to fight. Zhou Kuer and others behind him were also angry, but they were sensible and did not speak at this moment. Because now Jiang Yi needs to face Li Changgong. If they speak, it will only make Jiang Yi, the top fighter in Jiangnan region, seem to be incapable of disciplining his subordinates. Li Changgong looked at Jiang Yi coldly and continued to ask, "Hun Dun, do you dare to answer?" Jiang Yi's mouth curled up, and a hint of sarcasm appeared in his eyes. "You? Are you qualified?" He pointed at Li Changgong with contempt and shouted loudly, "You are only 40 years old, but you have become the commander-in-chief of the Northwest region. I heard that the commander-in-chief of the Northwest region before you was called Luo Yunfeng, an old general with high moral character and high prestige. You are not experienced enough, you are not capable enough, and you seized the position of commander-in-chief by force. This is disloyalty." The Shengjing region convened the 6 regions to discuss important matters. This is for the future development of Huaxiu country and is related to the country's destiny. Coming to make trouble at this time and ignoring the world is unkind. I made a layout on Qingdao, causing more than half of the Columbia Ocean Fleet, the biggest enemy of Huaxiu country and the biggest obstacle to going out to sea, to be damaged. Lord of the Ocean, Cartiers was seriously injured and could not threaten the southeastern waters of Manhwa in a short time. You kept silent about such a great achievement and only knew how to calculate the losses. This is clearly jealous of the achievements I have made, but you still have to throw dirty waters. Ignoring the facts, this is unjust." At this point, Zhang Yiduan, after a pause, he said faintly, "I also heard that your mother has fallen in love with someone else and is ready to remarry, but you repeatedly stopped her. This is unfilial. You are such an unfaithful, unfilial, unkind, and unjust person. How dare you challenge me? Are you worthy?" Zhang Yi's words were like a bombshell that hit the scene, causing everyone's heart to tremble. Everyone just listened calmly to the first few things, but the last one made everyone look at Li Changgong with strange eyes. Everyone didn't know that the Li family actually had such a complicated story. Because according to the age, Li Changgong's mother is nearly 60 years old. Who would have thought that the old tree could bloom and burst into a second spring? Of course, the last thing was just Jiang Yi's nonsense. He didn't know Li Changgong at all, let alone Li Changgong's parents. But rumors don't need any evidence. As one of the several Epsilon-level masters of Huaxu country, Jiang Yi would naturally believe what he said and spread it widely. He would not fight with Li Changgong without knowing anything about him. But when it comes to cursing, how can a nobleman like Li Changgong beat Jiang Yi, who was born in the market? Li Changgong himself could never have imagined that Jiang Yi, a dignified Epsilon, would be so swearing, and even mentioned his mother in the end. All of a sudden, his eyes burst out with an extremely strong murderous aura. Clang! He drew out the long knife in his hand and pointed it directly at Jiang Yi. You are looking for death. Chapter 1138. Rumors start with a mouth. Jiang Yi's words broke Li Changgong's defense. It was mainly the last sentence, which was too lethal. He didn't expect Jiang Yi to do this. Jiang Yi used his own method to give him a heavy counterattack. If his previous scolding of Jiang Yi was high-sounding and from the perspective of justice, then Jiang Yi's roguelike statement later was purely nonsense. But unfortunately, most people in this world are not very interested in such high-sounding statements. People prefer to listen to gossip, especially to listen to the gossip of those who are powerful and famous. Even that sentence made many people not care much about what Jiang Yi did, but just want to hear how Li Changgong's mother was old and strong and rejuvenated. Li Changgong drew out the long sword in his hand and pointed it directly at Jiang Yi. The soldiers of the northwest region behind him also drew their weapons, and the whole airport was suddenly filled with murderous aura. Jiang Yi's eyes were surging. Before he spoke, he immediately locked Li Changgong with tracing of all things and deployed all things around everyone to prevent Li Changgong from attacking. But at this moment, Zhang Dawen walked slowly and stood between the two. Go Chun, I've said it before. If you and Hundun agree to settle your personal grievances privately, I won't stop you. But whoever wants to cause trouble in Shang Jing, I'll take action. Seeing this, Jiang Yi smiled. Shang Jing district is Shang Jing district. They won't let anyone challenge their authority at this time. After all, they are the host. Jiang Yi stood behind Zhang Dawen with a smile, looking at Li Changgong without saying a word. Li Changgong's face turned very ugly. Jiang Yi refused to accept his duel request, and he couldn't scold Jiang Yi without caring about his image. After all, Jiang Yi was just an ordinary person, and his style of doing things has always been to care about the results, not the reputation. Jiang Yi could stand here without caring about his image and scold him. But he couldn't. He was a child of aristocratic family, and now he is the supreme commander of the Northwest District. That would only make him a joke in the upper circles of Huaxu State, and he wouldn't get any benefits. Hundun, you don't dare to fight me? You just hide behind Shengjing District like a turtle? Haha. Li Changgong deliberately mocked loudly, trying to anger Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi put his hands behind his back and snorted disdainfully. You are so disloyal, unfilial, unkind, and unjust. Are you qualified to fight me? I don't want to dirty my hands. As he said that, he sighed. Is it true that someone was bitten by a dog and bit back? Oh no, I am a person who cares about face. Li Changgong wanted to take advantage of the argument, but he didn't understand the situation at all. Jiang Yi continued. You might as well go home early and ask your mother if what I said is true. Li Changgong, I, Jiang Yi, never lie. I tell you this truth for the sake of your family harmony. Jiang Yi said it with a solemn oath, and Li Changgong was so angry that he tightened his knife hand. If he hadn't been worried about Zhang Dawen and the masters of Xingjing who had not yet appeared, he would have rushed up with a knife. But these words came out of Jiang Yi's mouth. Even if he was talking nonsense, the people around him didn't know it. What is Jiang Yi's identity? An Epsilon-level alien, one of the top powerhouses in Huaxu country. How could someone of his identity talk nonsense? The aura of a strong man, coupled with the lack of understanding of Jiang Yi, made many people believe what Jiang Yi said. Although it was not convenient to say it in front of Li Changgong, everyone's eyes were burning with gossip. There was no need to think that after today, the story of the Li family would spread throughout Xinjiang. Shang Dawen frowned. 2 Epsilon-level aliens, both of whom were national treasures. How could they look like shrews cursing in the street here? He said, "You two should say less. Since Handan doesn't agree to a duel, you two should go back and rest. When this matter is over, you can decide how to deal with it yourself." Jiang Yi nodded. "Of course, I will still give face to Xinjiang district. After all, I am a polite person and will not make trouble on other people's territory." Li Changgong gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with murderous intent, and he wanted to eat Jiang Yi. "Handan, you damn guy, you wait for me. If I don't teach you a lesson, I, Li Changgong, will take your surname." Jiang Yi hooked his finger at him provocatively. "I'll wait for you to come." Jiang Yi and the people around him left the airport under the vicious eyes of those people in the Northwest District and went to the guest room prepared for them in Xinjiang District. Li Changgong was holding back his anger at this time and could only insert the knife into the scabbard and angrily led people away. Seeing this scene, Jiang Han shook his head helplessly. She had reminded Li Changgong that Jiang Yi was not a strong man. But even though Li Changgong was mentally prepared, he did not expect that Jiang Yi was even more shameless than he thought. This time, the matter has become a big deal. Jiang Han covered her forehead helplessly. She really hoped that Li Changgong would help her teach Jiang Yi a lesson. But Jiang Yi's words were too harsh. She was a little worried that Jiang Yi would be killed by Li Changgong. After all, Li Changgong's ability index was as high as 16,000 points and a tank class Epsilon with very terrifying land capabilities. Let's see how you guys deal with this mess later. Jiang Han did not forget the purpose of his visit. After saying goodbye to Li Changgong, he still left with the people from the East China Sea region. After they left, many staff members on the scene immediately started chatting privately. "Hey, did you hear what Handan said about Go Chen just now? It's so explosive. I didn't expect that Go Chen's family was so exciting. Hey, what's so strange about this? In their circle, it's common to play a little bit. It used to be played privately, but now that Handan has exposed the old bottom, it will be famous all over the world in the future." Jiang Yi took Deng Shintong and others and led by Long Mingwei to the luxurious guest room prepared for them. On the way, Deng Shintong came over and said, "Brother, you are really too cruel this time. You hit someone in the face, but you made fun of Li Changgong's mother. I'm afraid he will fight you to death." Jiang Yi snorted coldly. "I don't want to play that either, but he wants to hit me in the face in public, so why should I be polite to him?" Deng Shintong shook his head helplessly. "But why do you have to talk about his mother? I didn't expect you to be so well-informed and know about his family. I underestimated you." Jiang Yi and the people around him looked at Deng Shintong in shock. What? Jiang Yi scratched his head. "I was just mad at him, so I talked nonsense." "Did I really say it?" Deng Shintong tilted his neck expressionlessly and looked at him sideways. Marriages in families like theirs are all arranged marriages, and there is not much affection inherently. After marriage, they cannot divorce due to interests, so they have to go their separate ways. The situation of the Li family is not a secret in the circle. It's just that now, this secret has been revealed by you. Brother, you are in big trouble. Jiang Yi heard this, and suddenly looked at Deng Shintong with an extremely strange look. "Then your family?" Deng Shintong said disapprovingly, "My parents have been divorced for more than 10 years, and I have a stepfather in Britannia." Jiang Yi was stunned. "You are so careless. You can say this casually?" Deng Shintong pointed at his nose and said with a smile, "I received education abroad, so I am more open-minded in this regard." But his eyes revealed a playful look. Li Changgong comes from a military family and attaches great importance to face. You just wait for him to fight you to death. Chapter 1139 Royal Palace. After listening to Deng Shintong's words, Jiang Yi rubbed his eyebrows. He felt very troubled. Fatty Sue snorted coldly at this time. It's obviously the guy who bullied others too much. Our boss just scolded him a few words, which is considered polite. If we really fight, our boss can't beat him? Jiang Yi's ability is dual attributes of time and space. Many people know that he has the ability of space attribute. After all, this thing cannot be concealed. But no outsider knows that he also has the attribute of time. So let alone that he has never lost under the same superpower index, even if he encounters a superpower index much higher than his, he can still be invincible. Jiang Yi glanced at Fatty Su, but said lightly, "Fatty, why do you think Li Changgong came to challenge me?" Fatty Su thought about it and said, "To help his friend." Jiang Yi said, "Although I can't say that he is very smart, he is at least not a fool for being a big boss. Since he dares to come and challenge me, he must have sufficient confidence." Jiang Yi looked at Deng Shintong. "Do you have any information about him?" Deng Shintong's eyes flashed with a strange light. In principle, the information of Epsilon-level mutants in a region is top secret and difficult for outsiders to obtain. Jiang Yi smiled and said, "In principle, it is one thing, and in reality, it is another thing. Your Deng family has great magical powers. I don't believe that we can't get any information." Deng Shintong touched his nose and said, "Indeed." He said, "Although he has not experienced foreign wars like you, he still needs to rely on strength to gain his current position. Therefore, more or less, he will still show some strength. I also got more reliable information from my friends in Shang Jing. His current ability index is as high as 16,000 points. As for his ability, it seems to be mainly close combat, but the details are unknown." Jiang Yi's eyes condensed slightly. 16,000 points, right? Deng Shintong said, "You better try to avoid him now. After all, although you are also a tank level, your ability index is only 13,000 points, which is a huge gap with him. He is not a Cartier's who has left the ocean. He can exert 100% of his strength on land." Jiang Yi nodded. "You are right. I will try to stay away from him." Although Jiang Yi said so, his eyes became deeper. Deng Shintong didn't know that Jiang Yi's ability index has reached 15,000 points. But he will still be wary of Li Changgong. Li Changgong is standing up for the East China Sea region, and the East China Sea region knows his ability. There are only two types of people who can defeat Jiang Yi head-on. First, people with strength far beyond his. Second, people with ability attributes that can restrain Jiang Yi. If Li Changgong is the first type, Jiang Yi will not worry after all. He is also hiding his strength. As for the second type, Jiang Yi has not met a person who can restrain his ability so far. Try not to conflict with him. There's no need to take risks. But if he bites me, then I'll have to fight. Jiang Yi made up his mind. What's more, he is now carrying a humanoid plug-in. Jiang Yi looked at Jingwei, who was wearing a black combat uniform and had his eyes covered by a black lace eye mask, and felt more at ease. He looked like a person, but in fact he could be a legion of aliens. If a fight really broke out, he would not talk about martial ethics with Li Changgong. He only had winning and losing in his eyes. Zhou Haime's eyes flashed with worry. She was looking forward to coming to Shang Jing this time, hoping to go around. But Jiang Yi ran into trouble as soon as she arrived. She was a woman who knew the big picture. She would definitely not say it, but she felt a little disappointed. Most people have this feeling of loss in their hearts, but they are not children, so no one said it. However, this feeling of loss was instantly swept away when they came to the guest rooms prepared for them in Shengjing district. What Shengjing prepared for them was not so much a guest room as a huge palace. As the imperial capital of two dynasties, Shengjing's ancient buildings are well preserved, including the residences of royal relatives and nobles. In particular, some noble palaces cover tens of thousands of square meters. There are also some courtyards built by people in later generations, which are no less large and luxurious than those of the ancients. After the end of the world, Shengjing's buildings are still well preserved, which is the heritage of the capital. There are carved beams and painted buildings in the courtyard, and even some mutated cold-resistant plants have been cultivated into ornamental plants and planted all over the courtyard. Chapter 1140, Li Yangyang. The appearance of Li Changgong originally disturbed everyone's interest in playing in Shengjing. But after arriving at this huge manor, their thoughts suddenly changed. Because of this huge manor, they want to spend at least a week to visit it once, and there are carved beams and painted buildings inside, and the scenery is very good. Zhou Jaime's eyes were full of surprise. This place is really beautiful. At this time, a sweet voice came from behind. Of course. Now the most beautiful scenery in the whole Shang Jing has been moved to various manors for protection. Now the scenery in this manor you see is partly split from several famous gardens in Shang Jing. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a tall and beautiful woman coming over. She was very tall, at least 1.78 meters tall, and this height is rare in the south. She also has a heroic spirit that southern women do not have. Even Jiang Yi in front of her has a little bit of a bird-like flavor. However, she is indeed very beautiful, and in terms of appearance, she can even be compared with Zhou Qi and Yang Xia. She came over and introduced herself with a smile. Respected Lord Chaos and friends from Jiangnan District, my name is Li Yangyang. I am the housekeeper sent by the senior management of Shangjing District to entertain you. In the next period of time, if you need anything, you can tell me. There are hundreds of service personnel in this huge manor that looks like a palace. It can be seen that Shangjing is sincere in entertaining them. However, when seeing Li Yangyang, Zhou Kuder subconsciously hugged Jiang Yi's arm, and Yang Xia also came to him to declare her sovereignty. Because the woman in front of them is very beautiful, they don't want Jiang Yi to have affairs outside. In fact, they think too much. Jiang Yi doesn't need to guess that the person who can be arranged by Shangjing must have a special identity. He never touches a rose with thorns. Thank you, I'll trouble you for the next few days. Jiang Yi said. Li Yangyang smiled and said, No, it's my honor. Li Yangyang's eyes quickly swept over the crowd and paused slightly when passing by Fatty Su. Because when everyone was still enjoying the scenery of the manor, Fatty Su had long been bored with these things, so he took out a game console and concentrated on playing the game. This abrupt feeling was like a chicken standing out from the crowd. Li Yangyang retracted her gaze and led the way for everyone, introducing them to the history and scenery of the manor and taking them to the residential area of the manor. After her introduction, everyone knew that this was not a real palace. After all, the real palaces are historical relics, so the buildings must be preserved, but it is not comfortable to live in. The new manor, in addition to retaining some ancient features, has added many modern elements. Therefore, living here is more in line with the habits of modern people. Jiang Yi and his friends came to a luxurious villa and dismissed other people around them. When Jiang Yi and his friends were the only ones in the house, Jiang Yi asked Yang Xinxin and Lu Karen to check if there were any surveillance equipment. Yang Xinxin turned on the computer, and Lu Karen also took out a special anti-reconnaissance device from his body. After a check, it was confirmed that no one was monitoring here. Jiang Yi stroked the head of Huahua next to him. Huahua, if someone approaches this house within 20 meters, warn immediately, understand?
Meow.
Huahua raised his head lazily, howled, and then continued to lower his head to sleep. Although it seemed to be asleep, it would be the first to notice any disturbance around it. After doing enough homework, Jiang Yi lay on the sofa and discussed with everyone how to deal with the trouble brought by Li Changgong. The matter of Shang Jing is not over yet, and Li Changgong is here again. I didn't expect that trouble would come to me as soon as I arrived in Shang Jing. It's really a headache. Jiang Yi rubbed his temple and smiled helplessly. Yang Xinxin took a sip of hot coffee and said slowly, This is all arranged by fate. Brother, you have framed so many people in Qingdao, and that matter cannot end silently. Jiang Yi didn't care. I know. At worst, I will take you away when the time comes. Anyway, after I return to Jiangnan District, that guy will never dare to chase me to my territory to make trouble. Deng Shintong smiled and said, I also think it is a good thing to avoid fighting. After all, you are not his opponent now. Be patient for a while, and the sea will be calm. Take a step back, and the sky will be wide open. Anyway, with your personality, brother, you don't care about face. Although Jiang Yi's words made Li Changgong embarrassed. But it is also a fact that Li Changgong challenged Jiang Yi in front of so many people from several districts. He avoided fighting, which would inevitably be regarded as a kind of weakness. Jiang Yi shrugged. Whatever they think, it's none of my business. Jiang Yi is not the kind of person who would take risks for face. How much is face worth? Deng Shentong crossed his legs, rubbed his slender fingers, and said slowly, "Things won't be that simple. If you don't accept the challenge, Li Changgong will find ways to force you to take action. I've heard of that guy. He is an ambitious and resourceful man. This time he chose to fight you in Shang Jing, not on impulse. Revenge for his brother is one aspect, and it is also his best reason. But establishing authority by suppressing you is also his purpose. After all, a man under 40 years old has become the commander of a region, purely relying on his military strength and the relationship with his father. But in the Northwest region, there must be many people who are dissatisfied. A new official has 3 fires when he takes office, and he intends to burn this fire on you." Jiang Yi raised his head and glanced at Deng Shintong, thinking, as expected of someone from a big family, he has 100 minds in his heart. He wants to light a fire, but I am not dry wood. Be careful that you will burn yourself when playing with fire. Deng Shintong looked at Jiang Yi seriously. So next he will try every means to force you to take action, but you must not accept it. He planned it carefully before he wanted to fight this battle with you to establish his authority. But you are unprepared. As long as you accept it, you will be in a disadvantageous situation. Jiang Yi thought to himself, Li Changgong thinks he knows me very well, so he is full of confidence. But if he thought so, he would be at a disadvantage. I will try my best to avoid fighting, Jiang Yi said. Everyone listened silently. Others could not interrupt at this time, and their faces were filled with worry. Jiang Yi saw that the atmosphere was a little tense, and suddenly laughed. Okay, you don't have to worry. I will handle this problem well. You came to Shang Jing to relax. Aunt Zhou, you lead a team and take everyone out for a walk. This video ends here. Stay tuned for more.
Thanks.